He wasn't late, he wasn't wrong, he was simply black, and that was enough for the pilot to block him at the gate. The crowd froze as the man's boarding pass was ripped in half. His silence mistaken for weakness. Cameras caught everything. What no one knew was that the man they humiliated wasn't just a passenger. He was the CEO their airline desperately depended on. Within days, his quiet fury would shake markets, bankrupt an empire, and remind the world that dignity denied always finds a way to rise higher than arrogance ever could. The airport buzzed with energy, business travelers hurrying, announcements echoing, and deals worth billions hanging in the balance. Among them, Malcolm Pierce walked calmly toward Gate 47, a boarding pass in one hand, a phone in the other. His flight to Geneva would decide the fate of a $7.8 billion merger between his company, Orion Technologies, and a European energy giant. He had arrived early, checked in first class, and passed every security check without issue. But as he approached the jet bridge, a voice cut through the ambient noise. "Sir, stop right there." The pilot stepped forward, tall, rigid, and confident in the wrong way. "I'm the captain of this aircraft," he said flatly, "and I'm not comfortable with you boarding." Malcolm blinked, certain he misheard. "Excuse me, you heard me," the pilot replied. "We reserve the right to refuse anyone who poses a concern." A gate agent hesitated, unsure. "Captain, he's a verified first-class passenger." "I said no," the pilot interrupted, his tone slicing through the space. Dozens of passengers stopped to watch. Phones lifted. Someone whispered, "Is he serious?" Malcolm stayed composed. "What exactly is your concern?" The pilot folded his arms. "Let's just say your presence might cause discomfort to the crew." Gasps spread through the gate. The subtext was unmistakable. Malcolm's jaw tightened. But he didn't raise his voice. "You're refusing me because I'm black," the pilot smirked. "You can call it whatever makes you feel better." The gate agent flinched. "Captain, please cancel his boarding," the pilot snapped. The sound of the printer ejecting a voided pass was louder than it should have been. The captain turned away as if closing a door on a servant. Malcolm said nothing. He simply slipped his phone into his pocket, turned toward the watching crowd, and walked back to the lounge. Someone's camera was still rolling. Within an hour, the clip hit social media. "Pilot blocks black CEO from boarding without reason." By noon, it had 10 million views. By evening, it was international news. The airline tried to spin it as a miscommunication. They issued a vague statement about security procedures. But the internet had already declared judgment. Comment sections filled with fury, hashtags trended, and journalists dug into everything about the airline's past discrimination cases. Meanwhile, Malcolm stayed silent. His board urged him to make a statement, but he refused. "Not yet," he said. "Let the truth ripen." 2 days later, the story turned nuclear. A whistleblower leaked internal messages from the airline's crew chat, one from the pilot himself, mocking Malcolm's entitlement. Screenshots spread like wildfire. Stockholders panicked. By the end of the trading day, the airline had lost $2.1 billion in market value, and Malcolm still hadn't spoken a word. On the third day, he walked into a press conference streamed live across the world. Calm, precise, no anger, just presence. "I bought a first-class ticket," he began. "But dignity isn't something you can purchase. It's something others choose to recognize or not." He paused as flashes from cameras painted the room. "That pilot didn't just refuse me. He refused the idea that a man who looks like me belongs in that seat. And for that choice, his company will now face mine behind him." His legal team displayed an acquisition proposal signed. The room erupted. Orion Technologies. His company had quietly bought out the airline's largest minority shareholder position overnight, leveraging the stock crash caused by the scandal. With that purchase, Malcolm had secured voting power, exceeding the pilot's employer's own board threshold. He continued, "As of this morning, I'm a principal shareholder in Apex Air, which means I now have the authority to decide the future of its leadership." Reporters gasped. "Are you firing the pilot?" Malcolm's eyes didn't waver. "No. I'm firing the culture that made him think he could do this and walk away untouched." The next slide displayed live footage of the airline's boardroom, executives being escorted out, resignation letters already printed. The crowd went silent. "The man who denied me a seat on his plane," Malcolm said. "Now answers to the passenger." He turned away. Within a week, Apex Air's logo changed. Its tagline, "Pride in the Skies," was replaced with "Respect Takes Flight." The pilot's license was revoked for policy violations. His pension frozen pending investigation. Investors celebrated Malcolm's leadership as the airline's new executive chairman. But Malcolm didn't stop there. He announced a $300 million program under Orion Technologies' new subsidiary, the Elevate Initiative, dedicated to funding minority pilots, engineers, and aerospace entrepreneurs worldwide. At the announcement, a reporter asked, "Was this revenge?" Malcolm smiled slightly. No, revenge is emotional. This was justice with structure. Months passed. Apex Air recovered stronger, cleaner, respected. Its stock rebounded under Malcolm's leadership, surpassing its original valuation. The pilot, stripped of his status, lived in quiet obscurity. His pension gone, his reputation erased. He watched news clips of Malcolm being praised as a visionary. One headline summed it up perfectly, from passenger to power. The man who bought the airline that rejected him. At the year's end, Malcolm stood before a crowd of new aviation scholarship recipients. Young, diverse, and proud. One man thought he could block me from a seat, he said. But he taught me something valuable. When someone closes your door by the entire building, the audience rose in applause. Cameras captured the moment, broadcasting it across the world. Outside, an Apex airplane thundered overhead, bearing the new slogan Malcolm had written himself. Respect takes flight. And as the engines faded into the clouds, so did the last echo of that gate confrontation, transformed forever into the sound of progress rising higher than prejudice could ever reach. If you believe respect can't be grounded, prove it, like this video, share it everywhere, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from and which moment hit you deepest. Subscribe today and turn on notifications so you never miss stories that expose arrogance and celebrate unstoppable dignity.